some milk.
So some of the things that I think we need to discuss is the recap on the Steelers and Cowboys game that took place on Sunday Night Football into Monday morning. I know I'm behind on this by about 5.5 days. However, I think it's important that we still put this video out. We're going to preview Lions-Cowboys and why I think this is a big matchup that we need to take seriously. I've already discussed a little bit about that. We've talked briefly about different aspects of this game that I think is going to be very critical. But we're going to hit a few things about that as well. And we're also going to talk about this media narrative that's going around and the things that we hear each and every year. And the reason why I'm trying to tell everyone who's watching this video, don't buy into what the media is telling you. Also, formulate your own opinion and stand by it. So we're going to talk about the injury report. We'll go through a little bit about that. And then we're going to dive into the matchup for today. The recap for Cowboys and Steelers. I feel like it's very important that we talk about the importance of having your quarterback come in clutch at the end of a game when he has not performed to his best. Okay? A lot of people were calling for Dak's head. Saying, you don't pay a guy like this $60 million. You don't invest in a guy that can't win the big one. You don't put your faith in a quarterback that crumbles and falls apart against the Saints and against the Ravens. And I challenge your thought on that Ravens game. Your quarterback battled. Your quarterback fought. And your quarterback tried his best to climb back into that game. Albeit late, you have to go back and watch what your defense did through the first 3 quarters of that game and say, at what point did the defense begin to fight for their offense? My opinion is your defense didn't really do a heck of a lot to help win the game until the game was out of sight. And a lot of people have had different opinions on that, saying that basically the Ravens allowed the Cowboys to get that opportunity to come back in that game. And if you go back in time and you look at some of the other matchups that the Cowboys have lost in miserable fashion, they look eerily the same. And that's where you begin to start to say, well, who's the biggest factor here? You go and you look at the Saints game. Did the defense really try at all in that matchup to stop the Saints from scoring? The Green Bay game, the playoff game. Did the defense do enough to give your quarterback an opportunity to do something when it mattered the most? Hey, I get it. He had interceptions. I get it. Dak went out there, and I'm in no way trying to say that he's not at fault for some of that. But what you can't do is you can't say, hey, my defense is allowing every single drive to score, so now my quarterback has to go in there and play hero ball and throw the ball every single time he has the ball in his hand because there is no run game. And the defense is not allowing you the opportunity to get a possession where it's like, okay, some of the pressure's relieved. No, Dak had to go out there each and every drive and make some magic happen with a limited group. Tony Pollard hurt, no run game. You don't really have a valued second down back last year with Tony Pollard being your lead back. Rico Dowdle was not doing what he did against the Steelers last year in that Green Bay game. Rico Dowdle hasn't done that until he played the Steelers just this last week. And we're going to talk a little bit about Rico Dowdle. My biggest thing is when your quarterback has the ability to do what he did in that last drive against the Steelers, your defense needs to fight for him a little bit harder. Your defense needs to work just a little bit more on the basics and stop trying to be a world beater and just go out there and be a down beater. Hey, we're going to beat this second down. Hey, we're going to beat this third down. Hey, they're going to go for it on 4th and 4. We've got to stop them here. They're electing not to take the field goal and take the 3 points that they have the ability to go get. They're trying to put an additional 6 points on the board Let's stop them here and get the ball back on offense. Let's go sit down. Let's go get some water. They're not doing that. They're trying too hard to be the showstopper, as so to speak, to be the guy to come down with the ball or make the big sack or to, hey, stop trying to go for the big sack and just try to stop the other team from getting the yards that they need to get the first down. Some of the big things and the big celebrations that you see are when your team just makes the right tackle to stop the first down mark. And that's the big thing. Getting the sack, hey, that's great for your stats. That's great for your MVP or for your, whatever record you're trying to go for, sack record or whatever. Just breaking up a pass is just as critical late in the game as an interception. Think about that. Stop trying to be the guy that has the flash plays and just make sure that your team has the better chance to succeed. That's the biggest takeaway that I see about this defense, about this Cowboys team right now, is I just need the defense to continue to do what they did in that fourth quarter against the Steelers. Continue to just get the pressure and get the quarterback a little bit uncomfortable. Always have a hand on that quarterback's shoulder or that quarterback's arm or that right there on the back plate of that quarterback. Let him know your presence. When you get close, make sure you put a couple of fingers on his back to let him know, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here. You don't always have to have the sack, but getting him in his brain is just as important. So big deals there. Previewing what I feel is the absolute biggest concern for Cowboys and Lions. We just kind of talked about it. I think your biggest deal is defense coming up big, making the smart plays, sticking to the basics, no penalties. That's the huge thing that I'm most concerned about. This game, this matchup, because the Lions are so sound with their offensive line and the way that they maneuver their offense up and down the field, they're very methodical. They know what they are, and they know how to excel at it. So what you've got to make sure you do is limit these penalties, these offsides, the taking people off the field, putting people on. There should be no 12 men on the field penalties. There should be no, weird offsetting, factors there. If they're going to make mistakes, let them make the mistakes and take advantage of those mistakes. Because it doesn't happen very often. The Lions don't make a lot of mistakes on penalties. Their mistakes are going to be just, hey, I read that play wrong. Hey, I didn't run the right route. Hey, I took the wrong gap on the run play. Or Jared Goff getting mobile and rolling out and putting the ball in play in a weird way. Those are going to be the moments that you're going to have to take advantage of, and you don't want them to be negated by illegal shift on defense or 12 men on the field or holding. Those little things that really pull those plays back. You see big plays happen. Just come right back because you had a stupid little mistake, and it's the basics. And I get it, referees sometimes are tricky, but just don't be the reason why these guys have to get involved in the game. That's all I ask of the Cowboys on defense and both offense as well. Rico Dowdle, he's going to have to step up. We are down so many players right now, and hey, this is not the game where you start to see a bunch of guys come back. It's just not. You won't start to see guys coming back until after this bye week. I'm just asking that Rico Dowdle come in and do the very best he can to not maybe replicate what he did against the Steelers, but find a way to make the absolute best with every single possession where he has the ball in his hands and protect the rock. Because it's very simple, and a lot of backs will tell you, once you put it on the ground, that's what other teams are going to remember. That ball popping out at the end of that game last week is going to be very critical that Rico understands. I've got to do a better job of seeing my blocks, reading the gaps, and protecting the ball at all costs. And shout out to Dak, big Dak, putting that frame on top of that ball to make sure that he had an opportunity to go in and make another play with. I can't be more happy with Dak given the thunderstorm delay, given the fact that they were tired because they were on the road, given the fact that you're dealing with a game where you turn the ball over yourself 3 times, 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. To come up clutch in that last minute situation for the walk-off home run to Tolbert was critical. It was huge, and I can't be more pleased with what I saw. So very, very good thing there. Now, one of the things that I think we need to discuss is this media narrative. They will say one thing one week and say it completely different the next week. I've even seen instances where guys will go on one show at 8 a.m. and they'll talk really good about a player, and then at 10 a.m. they're sitting on a completely different couch with a completely different co-host or host or whatever, and they will say the complete opposite. For instance, they'll say in the morning, I think Dak did really, really great against the Steelers, and everything looked very, very promising going into that drive at the end of the game to give them the ability to go down and score, and Dak did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went down there, and given that there was still a possible turnover, he laid himself out there on top of the ball to make sure that his team had an opportunity, and he went out there and he delivered. This is the Dak Prescott that we've been looking for. Then they'll go and sit on a show 2 hours later and they'll say, I think the biggest problem with this team right now is Dak Prescott, with the turnovers, with the fact that he's not given them the ability to be in the game throughout the game. And then when he is put in the situation where he has to rise up and give his team the opportunity to win, he most typically fails and he falls apart. And then the host will say, but what about that game-winning touchdown that he threw? And that same person that was giving him praises 2 hours prior will sit there and ball-face change the story, change the narrative every single time. They'll sit there and they'll say, oh, well, yeah, I mean, but that's one out of how many? This is still not a $60 million quarterback when you can deliver once out of 30 times. And that's where I say you've got to make sure that you're doing your research. Watch these guys because they'll flip their story to fit their narrative or to fit the window of what the station is wanting for you to hear. And that's where it's crazy to me that so many fans will tune in and support these channels. I've noticed it over the last couple of years. It only gets worse, and it's not just a Cowboy hate thing. It's what they do across the board with any team that's getting the spotlight. They'll turn on them and they'll start doing the same thing that they do with the Cowboys with other teams. You just get a bigger spotlight because it's the star, because it's Jerry Jones, because it's the Cowboys, because it was a former dynasty. So I'm going to play a little bit of audio here, and I want you guys to leave comments down below on what your biggest disappointment is with the media and the way that they talk about things.
Should the Cowboys be home underdogs to the Lions?
Lions are better than them. They should be. And home hasn't really recently been like the best field for the Cowboys. They've struggled at home here recently. Mm-hmm. And if you go back to last year, and I know we go back to last year, different teams, situations, circumstances, maybe even some coaching for that matter. Dan Campbell messed up twice going for 2-point conversion at the end of the game when they could have won the game. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he was thinking and whatnot in the end. We don't know what the deal is with Michael Parsons. He didn't play last week, right? So we still kind of waiting. Friday evening. Is he out?
He's out.
So if he's ruled out, according to my inside sources to my left here, and you don't have Lawrence in the defensive side, and as we talk all the time, what is it that the Detroit Lions lean on heavily?
Run game.
Run game, play action, pass. You need defenders to go get the run game and stop it and get to the quarterback. Well, they don't have that right now. And for what it's worth, Detroit's defense is playing pretty good under Aaron Glenn. So, yeah, they should be underdogs.
And any of this is based off of how they played last week against Pittsburgh?
I don't know if it is. I don't know. I don't know why they are making it that way. I'm thinking you're looking at the course of the entire season. You're missing players because they played okay against Pittsburgh's top defense. They did okay. They won the game. They did okay. Dak had a signature
I thought they played very well on offense versus that Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, you playing against a top-tier championship level defense, and you went on the road and you got the win.
They did win.
Should they be underdogs? Of course they should be underdogs. Do I think they'll lose? I don't know. I think I got the Cowboys.
Bruh. Don't do that. You talking all that hot garbage each and every time the Cowboys get ready to play somebody. Now you want to jump on? Bro, don't. Save it. Miss me, okay? Miss me, Paul Pierce. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. I'm not buying it. I would rather you continue to hate on us because that's all you've ever done. Don't try to give us props now.
Ooh, Paul's picks.
They need a signature win. And we talk about signature wins. Like this type of game that can turn the Cowboys season from one that probably didn't look optimistic because at the beginning of the season we're looking at their schedule and contract disputes in the summer, coming into the season, and this is one that can just have Jerry Jones smiling right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Going into the bye.
They can really make me look real stupid.
He had them at 2-4.
He did.
You know, he
He
predicted.
has him at 3-5 now.
Now he has them at 3-5.
Did you officially
so,
go 3-5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they win this game, we're gonna be like, man, can the Cowboys make a run?
Yeah, I had him at 2. I had him at 2-4 to start the season. I was right there too. Ooh, I was looking good. Man,
So that last play?
Man, that last
But
play.
That's why you giving Dak so much credit, because that game really wasn't very good, but they won, and I think that's why you're doing it.
He fell. First of all, he fell on the fumble.
Because you were sitting there
Oh my
ready
God,
to
yes.
come in here and
Saturday,
cry.
look, I'm watching the Cowboys Sunday night. I'm like, oh, yes, over. Oh, he fumbled. Oh, Dak landed on. Okay, they got one play. Oh, he checked 1, 2, 3. He went all the way back to 4.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was ready to just. Ooh, Michael was gonna be sitting next to me too. Oh my goodness.
He is like that sniper. He was waiting for you. He was waiting for you.
Waiting.
Land in the weeds. Land in the weeds.
Should the Cowboys be home underdogs against the Lions, CJ?
Yeah, they should. The Lions are legit Super Bowl contenders, but when the Cowboys so far, they're 0-2 at home. And when you look at the teams they lost to, New Orleans Saints, run the ball. Baltimore Ravens, run the ball. The Detroit Lions have the best offensive line in football. Dan Campbell's a head coach. What they want to do? They're going to run the ball. And so you don't have Micah Parsons or DeMarcus Lawrence, and you're playing against the best offensive line in football. They are going to run the ball at will. And you get nosy and you start playing single high safety. Now we need to load the box. St. Brown and Jameson Williams, they're going to go to work. And so for me, you can't stop the run. And you're playing the team who I believe has the best offensive line in football. It's a bad recipe. So, yeah, they should be underdogs. Now, I don't believe they're going to win. So that signature win is going to have to come against somebody else. It's not coming against the Detroit Lions.
If the Cowboys win, which I don't think they will, and I'll admit this, Nick, it's hard to see Dallas, which was great at home last
won
year.
16 straight.
Yeah, undefeated. Lose 3 straight at home to start the season. That is, like, man, that's a reach.
Yeah.
But I think Detroit is just too good, especially with Dallas being banged up. What can they do, though, for my thoughts on the Cowboys? If they win, they will gain my respect.
Oh.
With all disrespect meant, you can keep your funky ass respect. Okay? We don't need it. Keep hating on us. Keep not believing in us. Please. Because it works.
They will get. They've done nothing this season to get my respect.
Going to Pittsburgh on national TV means nothing.
They beat up a lost Cleveland team.
Sure.
Absolutely lost team. They beat 2 mediocre teams. Pittsburgh, let's be honest. So we think they're mediocre. I know they were 3-1. We think they're mediocre.
Wins in Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin are good wins. Can we just agree with that?
By the way, did I mention Dak Prescott is undefeated against the Steelers? Both games that he played was in Pittsburgh. Both wins were at the final minute of the game. One was his rookie year, and the other was just the other day. That happened. You can fact check me.
It was a bad one. First of all, they won on the last play.
That's the NFL, man. It's like
I
ain't get it, man. Matt Stafford doesn't have a Super Bowl if not for Jaquaski.
You're right about
and
that.
And Mahomes is 0-3 in Super Bowls if not for
you finally admitted
I get it. No, that's the sport, bro.
The Giants.
Every
Did
game
they
is
look
close.
great against the Giants? No. They stepped up in their weight class and got smacked. All right, last time they played a top team. All right, Baltimore. Oh, they came back. I put that more on the Ravens falling asleep than the Cowboys waking up. No, I do. I do. I mean, Nick, the Ravens beat them up and down the field for 3 quarters and then let their foot off the gas, as they've done with 10 teams over the last year and a half, and the Cowboys made it look respectable. Then New Orleans, which isn't even any good,
No, that was
beat
terrible
the
loss.
heck out of them.
That was terrible.
All right, if they win this game, I will respect them as a good team.
So
right now, I don't. It'll be the first time this year they beaten somebody who is not either a tomato can or tomato can adjacent.
Okay.
And I would say the Steelers and the Giants are tomato can adjacent.
Okay. All right. If this, I mean, well, then everyone in the league.
I'm supposed to fall in love with them?
No, but it can't be.
I don't think they're that good.
It can't be a 32-team league, and 25 of the teams, when you beat them, it means nothing. It can't be that.
Thank you, Nick. Because Nick is probably one of the most consistent hosts on any show that I see across the board. Nick is fair to a T. He is absolutely right on point each and every time with how the media talks about teams. And that's why I say fair across the board. Because he does the same thing for other teams. And he sits here and he goes to bat. He goes to war with both Wilds and Brew. Pretty much every single time I see a clip come up from them, each and every week, it's the same thing on First Take. He stands on the table and says, no, I'm not going to sit here and let you bash the Cowboys in a way that you don't do it for other teams. The other teams, you give them the credit when they get a win, a grit win against a team that they should have lost against. And you praise these teams that beat up on poor, pitiful teams. But you don't do that for the Cowboys. Because everybody on Friday was saying the Steelers are better than the Cowboys. Why are we even having this discussion? Why are we even talking about it? You're going to the Steel City. You're going to be facing one of the top 5 defenses in the league. The Cowboys are going to lose this game. And if they're not careful, it could be by a lot. Isn't that what I heard last week? Oh, but now the Steelers are trash, right? According to Brashard, Steelers are trash. Why? Because the Cowboys beat them? So the thing about the Cowboys, the thing about the Star has a lot of weight. If you notice, the media says, well, you know what? And I don't see how they're going to get past the Steelers. The Steelers got all of this going on. TJ Watt. They got all of this going on. Fitzpatrick. They got all this going on. Terrible towels. Right? Cowboys can't beat that. There's no way. Cowboys are a terrible team. Steelers are going to mop the floor with them. Now, we go into this, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, the Lions are better than the Cowboys. The Lions will beat them handedly. Easily. I'm not saying you don't take them seriously, but I'm saying y'all got to stop with this whole narrative that the other team is better, and then y'all flip script on Monday. Oh, I mean, the Lions they're abysmal. That's what the narrative is going to be on Monday. If the Cowboys win, the Lions are abysmal. Of course the Cowboys are going to win. Look, the Cowboys came in knowing that they needed this game, knowing that they were going into a bye, and knowing what the road is ahead, right? That's what they're going to say. Cowboys came in off of a big emotional win on a late Sunday, early Monday morning, and then some are going to say, look, man, the Lions are just trash. The Lions are not what they were last year. You know, you look at the problems that the Lions have had, and they're going to be in the backyard with shovels, digging up whatever excuse they can dig up to use to support the narrative that the Cowboys didn't go out and win against the Lions, that the Cowboys just had the opportunity to take advantage of a team that wasn't ready to play. I feel like the Cowboys have a good shot at beating the Lions, not because of the list of players that are playing for either team. I think what happened with the Steeler game is huge. It's marginal when you start to think about the heart and the passion of this team. And I think you're going to see that kind of unfold through this game tomorrow. I really feel like the Cowboys have a very good chance. We're going to move on. We want to talk a little bit about the injury report. Basically, it's very critical that you understand who's in, who's out going into the matchups. We talked about this before. The big thing for the Detroit Lions right now, they're out one of their guards, and they've got a long list of injury reserve players from Derek Barnes all the way down. They've got people at every position other than quarterback right now and running back that's in or out. And a lot of these guys, I'll be honest with you, with the exception of a couple, it's not even a big deal. Traquan Smith is out. That's one of their wide receivers. They don't really have a lot of big name players that are not going to be a factor. A lot of their starters are healthy and good to go. So Detroit's coming into this game relatively healthy, relatively happy with what they've got on the field. Not to be the case for the Dallas Cowboys. We lost another linebacker. He's not scheduled to come back until the San Francisco game after the bye. Eric Kendricks, he's out. Deron Bland, they've got him activated. However, with that being said, you have to understand that there's a ramp-up period. There is in my opinion, my own humble opinion, there is absolutely no way they risk it and play Deron Bland for this game. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, man, if the kid's ready, he should play. This is the matchup that you really wanted. I don't think they do it. I really feel like they keep him back for another week. They let him ride through the bye week, and they say, hey, if the ramp-up period is good through the bye week, San Francisco is where you see Deron Bland. That's the matchup that you really want to have him on the field. They don't pick the Detroit Lions. They pick San Francisco 49ers to bring Deron Bland back. I'm all for it. I think you had against, albeit a less talented quarterback in Justin Fields last week with the Steelers, the same deck was stacked against you, so to speak, as far as who you had and what you were going against. The wide receivers, hey man, for Detroit, I think you have a chance here with J. Lou and with Trey Diggs in this matchup. It's gonna mean that these guys are gonna have to lock down. Your secondary is gonna have to lock down because these guys can get open. They're fast, but that run game is the thing that scares me the most. You're still out Michael Parsons. You're still out DeMarcus Lawrence. You're still out Marshawn Kneeland. So those are three guys right there that not having them is a big deal. Not to mention you've also still got Sam Williams that's out. So your defensive end room is very, 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 very limited. So you're going to really rely on some of these guys that you relied on last week. And we'll see what rides and what sticks to the wall. I think that's just where we're at with the injury report. We're going to basically have the same team out there that we had last week, with the exception of, again, Marshawn Kneeland. And we'll do the best we can with what we got. Which means you're going to have to rely heavy on Turp. Turpin's going to have to play a big role again and do something on offense that is going to help, hopefully, the other guys that are out there on the field. Now Jalen Tolbert's got a spotlight on him. So he's going to get some coverage. So you've got to make sure that you've got another wide receiver out there that can help out with CD and Tolbert to make a big impact on offense. And Turpin's going to have to be that guy. We'll see if Brooks can come in and do something. I still would like to see Flournoy get out there and get some action. I think because nobody's really seen him in game time action in a meaningful football game. You've got an opportunity there to hopefully roll him in a couple of packages and see what he can do. Now there's been 2 weeks where he's been in the lineup on offense for these starters during practices. So maybe now they've kind of got some things that they like out of him, and we can start to see him kind of flourish with this offense. Dak is very, very good at making no-name receivers popular. If you run down the list of the players that he's had in his wide receiver room over the last 8 years, a lot of those guys that were second fiddle, third fiddle to Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and Des Bryant, even going back to his rookie year, those guys went elsewhere for big deals, and they didn't pan out. They didn't make a name for themselves on other rosters. So Dak Prescott has the ability to make a Jalen Brooks, a Jalen Tolbert, a Ryan Flournoy, a Turpin do exceptional things, but it comes down to the character that he's throwing to. It comes down to how good are the hands, how good is the placement, how good is the route running, and hey, do they have burst? Can they get open? Dak's got the skill set to get them the ball. It's all about what these guys do once they get the ball. We talked a lot about Cowboys. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit Longhorn football here. The undefeated Longhorns are going into the Cotton Bowl today for the Red River rivalry. I am so pumped about this game. I think this is going to be a turning point, not only for the Longhorns to do something big this year and really stamp a spot on this season. I'm really excited about what they can do in the grand scheme of this season down the stretch. That last year they had a good run. They went up against a team that was a little bit more hungry than they were in the playoffs, and they didn't finish out like I wanted them to. But they came in this year and they said, we're not done yet. Some programs fold after a big year like what the Longhorns had last year. The fact that they're out there, they're ranked number 1. They're playing number 18 at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 DFW time, Central Standard Time, at the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas. I'm super excited. I'm a big Horns fan. I've had to endure a lot of seasons where we didn't really do well, and I'm super excited about this season. I digress. This Longhorns team is super, super exciting. I think with what they've done with their program this year, it's been tremendous. I'm super excited to see what they're going to do. Hopefully this doesn't bite them in the ass, but it looks like the Longhorns are going to play Quinn Ewers over Arch Manning. I don't know. I think you should ride with the hotter hand, but I know Quinn Ewers has earned the opportunity to start for this program, and I'm going to support. I hope that they're making the right decision, but they've got my support. We're going to enjoy the game and have a good time. Tomorrow, the game will be at 3:25. We are going to be on early. Look for me to go live at about 11:50, 11:55. We're going to catch the early games tomorrow, so we've got a couple of different big games going on early. We're going to try to keep track of the NFC East the best that possible. And then 30 minutes before Cowboys kickoff against the Detroit Lions here in Dallas, we will be going live as we always do with my own pregame setup. So I will do my own presentation roughly 7 to 8 minutes before kickoff, leading you all the way up to kickoff for Cowboys versus Detroit here in Arlington. Super excited about tomorrow. It's Go Cowboys time. We've got to go get this win, so let's go get it. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys head over to Twitch. Look up the Cowboys Sideline Report. Make sure you give me a follow. We're up to 21 followers over on Twitch. I'm super excited. Can't wait to see us grow and have fun on Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays football. We'll lead into the playoffs, and hopefully the Cowboys will be representing a strong effort and go far on this run. And I hope to see you guys along the way. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Cowboys.